Hello and welcome. In this segment, we'll be doing the poem Life and Death by Sri Aurobindo Ghosh. Aurobindo Ghosh was a philosopher, a scholar, a writer, a spiritual teacher, and his ideology encompassed divinity, ethics, spontaneity, and knowledge. He was also a revolutionary and a freedom fighter. For him, nationalism was a holy offering to his motherland because he saw nationalism from a divine perspective. Aurobindo Ghosh was born in Calcutta in India. His father, Dr. Krishnadhan Ghosh, was a district surgeon at Rangapur in Bengal. His mother, Swarnalata Devi, was the daughter of Rajnarayan Basu, a religious and social reformer. The name Aurobindo Ghosh, Aravinda, means lotus in Sanskrit. But then his father, Dr. Ghosh, chose the middle name Ackroyd, mainly to honor his friend Annette Ackroyd, his friend from France. Dr. Ghosh had previously lived in Britain and studied medicine at King's College, Aberdeen. And he was very particular that his children should have an English education, and he also wanted to bring them up without any Indian influence. Therefore, in 1877, he sent young Aurobindo and his two elder siblings to the Loretta Convent School in Darjeeling. He spent 2 years there at Loretta Convent, and in 1879 he was taken to Manchester along with his two elder brothers. Dr. K.D. Ghosh had always wanted his sons to pass the prestigious Indian Civil Service exam. In fact, Aurobindo Ghosh passed the written examination of ICS, and he even won the 11th rank out of 250 competitors. He spent 2 years at King's College, but after 2 years of probation, Aurobindo was convinced that he did not want to serve the British, and therefore he did not attend the horse riding examination for ICS and got disqualified for the service. After that, he joined the state service in Baroda, working first in the Survey and Settlements Department and later moving to the Department of Revenue and then to the Secretariat. At Baroda, Aurobindo got an opportunity to engage in a deep study of Indian culture. He taught himself Sanskrit, Hindi and Bengali, and then he was transferred to the Baroda College, where he became a teacher of French, and he became a very popular teacher mainly because of his unconventional teaching style. He was later promoted to the position of the vice principal of the same college. In 1901, he married Mrinalini, the daughter of Bhubal Chandra Ghosh, a senior official in government service. The picture on the left is that of young Aurobindo Ghosh. He is sitting in the center next to his mother, and on the right is his picture with wife Mrinalini. Aurobindo Ghosh soon started taking an active interest in the politics of India's freedom struggle against the British. He started writing a series of impassioned articles under the title New Lamps for the Old, which mainly criticized the Congress for its moderate policy. Later he lost interest in these writings, and therefore the series had to be discontinued. Aurobindo's activities in Baroda also included a regimen of yogic exercises and meditation. Aurobindo Ghosh was greatly influenced by Bankim Chandra Chatterjee's novel Anand Mat. In 1907, he was introduced to Vishnu Bhaskar Lele, a Maharashtrian yogi. And this meeting led Aurobindo to retire for 3 days in seclusion, and he seems to have had his first major spiritual experience called Nirvana. Nirvana is a state of complete mental silence without any thought or mental activity. And later on, when he was awaiting trial as a prisoner in Alipur Central Jail in Calcutta, Aurobindo had a number of mystical experiences. In fact, in one of his letters, he even mentions that when he was in jail, the spirit of Swami Vivekananda had visited him for 2 weeks. And then they spoke about the higher planes of consciousness leading to supermind. So that had a great influence. Now all those experiences had a great influence on his spiritual thinking. Later, Aurobindo said that when he was imprisoned, he saw everything there. The convicts, the jailers, the policemen, the judge, the lawyers, and even the inanimate objects like trees or prison bars as different forms of Lord Krishna. Then he travelled to Chandranagar, a French territory, which was a French territory then, as guided by an inner voice. And on April 4th, 1910, he moved to Pondicherry. And it was in Pondicherry that Aurobindo Ghosh dedicated himself completely to his spiritual and philosophical pursuits. So it has been said about Aurobindo Ghosh that he was a new type of thinker, a thinker who combined in his vision the enthusiasm of the West and the illumination of the East. He is a yogi who wrote as though he was standing among the stars with the constellations for his companions. Mira Alfasa, popularly known to her followers as the Mother, was a spiritual guru, an occultist, and a collaborator of Sri Aurobindo. He even considered her to be of equal yogic stature to him and called her Mother himself. It was Mira Alfasa who founded Sri Aurobindo Ashram and also established Auroville as a universal town. She was an influence and an inspiration to many writers and spiritual personalities on the subject of integral yoga. It was on the 7th of March 1914 that she travelled with her husband Richard and reached Pondicherry. When she first met Sri Aurobindo, Mira recognized in him the person whom she had been seeing in her dreams. Around 1924, she began organizing the day-to-day functioning of the household, and slowly the house was turned to an ashram with many followers flowing in every day. You can see the Mother and Sri Aurobindo Ashram in the pictures. Sri Aurobindo Ghosh passed away medically on the 5th of December 1950. Many of his followers, including the Mother, experienced a supramental radiance from his body. This radiance continued to linger from the 5th to the 8th of December 1950. On 5th December, the Mother announced, "The funeral of Sri Aurobindo has not taken place today. His body is charged with such a concentration of supramental light that there is no sign of decomposition, and the body will be kept lying on his bed so long as it remains intact." In fact, the body remained intact till the 9th of December, and on 9th morning, the first signs of decomposition were noticed. The body was then buried, in fact, it was placed in a concrete vault that was constructed in the ashram courtyard. The place is now called the Samadhi, and devotees from different parts of the world visit his samadhi to offer their respects and prayers. Now, what happened on December 5th was the descent of the supramental consciousness, and this happened not for his transformation but to bring an earthly transmutation. Aurobindo knew that it was necessary for him to receive the full force of the supramental light and consciousness, so that the supramentalization of the earth and the mankind will become assured. So this has been compared to the supreme sacrifice of Lord Shiva, who accepted poison at the time of Amritamandan, as in Indian mythology. And when the soul of Aurobindo left his body, the supramental consciousness and force got also realized in the mother, and the mother had in her descended the mind of light. Sri Aurobindo's philosophy is a synthesis of the concepts of the East and the West, and his writings also provide social and cultural analysis even when they are philosophical in nature. He joined the movement for India's freedom from British rule, and for a short duration of 5 years he became one of its most important leaders. But later he turned to develop his own vision and a philosophy of human progress and spiritual evolution. The central theme of Sri Aurobindo's vision is the evolution of life into a life divine. In his own words, as mentioned in The Hour of God, man is a transitional being. He is not final. The step from man to Superman is the next approaching achievement in the earth evolution. It is inevitable because it is at once the intention of the inner spirit and the logic of nature's process. So here's a list of Aurobindo Ghosh's prose works: The Life Divine, The Synthesis of Yoga, Secrets of the Vedas, Essays on the Gita, The Human Cycle, The Ideal of Human Unity, Renaissance in India and Other Essays, Supramental Manifestation upon Earth, The Future Poetry, Thoughts and Aphorisms, several volumes of letters. Aurobindo's poetry also expressed his spiritual thought and vision in intricate metaphysical reasoning and in phenomenological terms. He started writing poetry as a young student, and it continued until late in his life. The theme of his poetry changed with the projects he undertook. It ranged from revolutionary homages to mystic philosophy. He preferred to write in classical style. His principal work in poetry is Savitri, a legend and a symbol, which was written in blank verse. The poem Life and Death appeared in the collection titled Collected Poems, Volume 5.1, which was written during 1895 and 1908. Aurobindo's complete works were collected and edited in the 30 volume by Sri Aurobindo Birth Centenary Library, or SABCL for short. According to Aurobindo, death does not exist in the higher planes of consciousness. It is just a transition before you enter the next state. This poem, it is made up of a quatrain and a couplet and has the rhyme scheme AB, AB, CC. And he makes use of a literary device called the chiasm, which is also been called chiasmus or chiastic writing or structure, this is a literary device that presents a series of ideas and then they are repeated in the opposite order. In fact, it is more commonly used in narrative prose and is used to combine two ideas that are actually similar in thought and form. Now, this kind of the chiastic structure creates symmetry or balance to the prose and also the actual story structure. Sometimes this technique is also called a cyclical or a circular or ring pattern. In fact, the meaning of the word chiastic is crisscross, and the symmetry of ideas is the key point. Chiasmus repeats or it echoes the same ideas, but it uses different words to convey the same idea. The poem Life and Death. Even though the poem is made up of a quatrain and a couplet, the two stanzas are not separated, or in fact the rhyme scheme is also similar, ABABCC, and as I was mentioning, the poet employs the chiastic structure, which means he brings together two opposing concepts: life, death. I'll read the poem. Life, death, death, life. A typically chiastic structure where the opposing concepts are repeated, but then the repetition actually happens in the opposite order. Life, death, death, life. The words have led for ages our thought and consciousness, and firmly seemed two opposites. But now long hidden pages are opened, liberating truths undreamed. Life only is, or death is life disguised. Life, a short death, until by life we are surprised. A very short but profound poem. Aurobindo says that the two concepts, the concept of life and the concept of death, have been regarded as antinomies or contradictions for ages. See, the words have led for ages. That is, we were forced to believe that these two were conflicting ideas, that is, one being the opposite of the other. So it was such a concept that shaped our thinking. We could never really see the truth. But now long hidden pages are opened. Truth was hidden from us, but now suddenly the whole mystery has been unraveled before our eyes. It is not hidden anymore. Like, you open a book and the secret is, or the mystery is revealed to you. So now the long hidden pages, the pages we could read the mystery. And what was the mystery? The belief, the thinking that life and death are two opposites. So this was our belief. But now that belief is going to be changed. The long hidden pages are opened before our eyes. The whole mystery has been unraveled before our eyes. It is there like an open book, releasing new wisdom, liberating truth. It was as if truth was imprisoned in those long hidden pages. So finally it has been liberated. The truth has been liberated. The truth that had been unknown and undreamed. Nobody could even imagine. It was undreamed. People could not imagine that life and death were not opposites. So that is the long hidden truth. So that has now been revealed to Sri Aurobindo. Life and death, they are the same. Life only is, or death is life disguised. So life only is means that there is only life. There is no death at all. No, life is the truth. Life only is because there is no death. Death is life disguised. So what we think is death is in actuality life. It is not death. It is life disguised. It is just life pretending like death, disguised as death. Now this is a very profound philosophical thought, and what Aurobindo wants to convey is that the soul is immortal. If there is no death, then that means we are all immortal. Nobody dies. We just pass from one state of life to another. Now this idea has been inspired by the Bhagavad Gita. So what appears like death to people is just another kind of life. In fact, his work, Savitri, also discusses the same idea, especially at the climactic moment in the epic, when death reveals itself as the supreme lord of life and happiness. It contains a radical reversal of the relationship between life and death. Life that we always believed, we thought that life was the real state, but in fact it is not life that is a real state, but it is death, because life is in actuality death, and death is it's a brief state before we move on to the next. Now, life a short death, until by life we are surprised. So this is how he concludes this short poem. He says that life is like a short death, but then it is, why does he say that it is short? Because it's not an end. Because soon after death we'll be surprised to find that we are still alive. We are surprised by the very fact that there is still life. So a real surprise for people who believe that death is the end. So there is, according to Aurobindo, there is afterlife, and there is also this before life, which is way more sublime and magnificent than this short duration that we have on earth, which we call life. The poem Life and Death opens our eyes to this vision of eternity that had been hiding behind death, a veil that separated one state of life from the next.